Now, please help me welcome Radu Popa, the CTO at LUXHUB. Who else is curious about learning more about the impact on finance? And Radu is going to be talking to us about the building trust in open finance. Thank you, Radu.
Hi, very nice to be here. I hope the connection is fine and everybody can hear me. So yes, the title of my presentation is about building trust in open finance. It is, as the subtitle say, a journey of discovery, discovery that we did it ourselves in LUXHUB, and I will be more than glad to share this kind of journey that we took with everybody else. To try to learn from what we did, to try to look together to the future and to build a framework and utilize the effort that eventually will lead exactly to this, building trust in open finance. So the content of my speak relates to how open banking started, how did we move to open finance, and what is the road ahead towards open everything, basically. What is the twist in the journey that we had to take, and how did we go about it, and eventually what we propose, what is the LUXHUB offering in this context. Without further ado, I'll go to open banking. As you know, this is an effort that was started quite a few years back. It is done differently in different parts of the world. In Europe, we are facing quite a regulated system in this direction. We have the Psd2 directive. And as a result of this directive, basically our company also came to be as well, created by banks in Luxembourg that share the mutual problem of dealing with this compliance item. We have great effort that were put together in UK with the open banking. The open banking movement then moved towards the world. There are quite a few countries that are doing or did already something in this direction. As you can see, there are quite a few transactions that are going through the system. Everybody is doing something. Everybody is talking about. I will not bore you with another presentation in detail about that because it is a well-known subject. But it is clear that we are moving towards open finance. What does it mean, open finance? Well, it's built as a natural extension of the open banking and basically adds more type of accounts, more type of financial services on top of the payment account that are open together with open banking. And obviously, of course, because of these synergies that are created around the subject, it is creating a lot of opportunities for disruption. We are talking about fintechs joining the gang. We are talking about regtechs, insurtechs, and all kinds of startups that are bringing their potential, the truly inspirational product that they are developing. They are conflicting in a way with the more traditional world of finance, and together they are creating this kind of opportunities, the disruption of the sector, joining together in an ecosystem that is as much interesting as much as it is dynamic and up to speed with all the developments in technology. So how can we still innovate and disrupt while making use of the lesson learned? We're making use of the lesson learned in open banking while making still everything in the framework of the regulated system that are traditional in finance. Well, it's obviously an impedance mismatch between the two, right? We have the financial institutions that are highly regulated. They are traditional. They are not necessarily the big innovator players on the market. They are a little bit looking scared towards the big tech companies. They don't have the same dynamicity, but in the same time, they are established. They have the trust of their customer. They are players that are well fit in the market already. And then we have the dynamic, the pragmatic, the corner-cutting startups that are coming and they're ready to disrupt. How do we put this type of layers together? How do we make the best of the offering of each? How do we combine this in order to create a system that works for everybody? Well, as we see it, it's basically based on these three pillars: the identity, the value, and the trust. By identity, we mean the identity of all the participants in a transaction. We are talking about establishing clear and non-equivocal identity of the customers, identities of the parties that are involved, the financial institution and the third party that are operating in the system, just like it was started with open banking. We're talking about enhancing the customer perception of the services that they are getting, enhancing the traditional products that are offered by banks or other financial institutions. We're talking about the value added by the embedded finance, by embedding financial offers into other type of products that are non-financial. And we are talking mostly and foremost about trust. What does it mean, trust? Well, all this open ecosystem are eventually establishing standard for data exchange. If in such an ecosystem we don't have trust, basically no standard can be developed. As we know, the banks are benefiting the customers' trust. They are traditional brick and mortar stores, so to speak, right? Institutions that are benefiting of customer trust. Yet this trust is not absolute. About 30% of the customers, they are saying that they trust banks to act in their best interest, which means that for increasing this and maintaining the current relations, the banks themselves, they need to ally with startups, they need to ally with technology companies in order to better their products, to bring them more into the digital era, and to create new value streams. Now, because of all these happenings and because of this impedance mismatch, we see an emergence of hubs and marketplaces. The conclusions on this slide are actually gathered from market surveys and interviews that we conducted on the market related to the necessity of marketplaces and hubs. Basically places where we have different players from different areas coming together and making use of each other's offer. So we have, like we said, on one side, the financial institution, the traditional way of doing business, and on the other side, we have the disruption that is caused by the startups. We realized, and the market is looking towards a place where these parties can exchange their products. And when we say products or services, of course, we mostly mean APIs, because this is the modern way of exchanging data. So what started with open banking, it will go through open finance and then to open data of any kind. We see this happening in various areas, but of course the financial marketplace will be the first, because this is the domain that it's already regulated, or it's beginning to be regulated, and this is where actual initiatives begin to be noticed. So what do we find out? It is a need for API marketplaces, following from the need of collaboration between the parties in order to serve customers with integrated digital value propositions. We need a place where these players will come together. They'll be joining a trusted and curated environment where they can offer their services in such a way that the customer can greatly benefit. How do we see that? Well, we see it like a trusted framework, a framework of trust that is developed in the shape of a marketplace that contains not only the technical connectivity, but a lot of services around that standardizes the access and user experience, that contains a very clearly defined set of rules for admission criteria and the certification program of the participants, that comprises of well-defined business models, what can be done, how can it work, how can we make money and value out of it, that it has an assured governance and mediation, and is leveling the playing field for the participants. Of course, all these items will contribute to warrant trust for consumers and providers. This is the framework that we are trying to build. This is the type of offering that we are trying to make. And we are way on the way to offer something like this with our LUXHUB marketplace. This is the framework proposal that you said, but who are we? Well, we are LUXHUB. I'm very sorry I don't have a t-shirt right now with LUXHUB, but we are a company from Luxembourg. We started as a joint initiative of 4 major retail banks in Luxembourg, and we started by working on compliance items, specifically to the Psd2 implementation. The Psd2 is the Payment Service Directive that is valid in Europe, is the European Union version of open banking. Deals basically with opening up to third parties of payment accounts that are held by banks. There are clear regulations around that, defined by the European Commission and by the European Banking Authority, by various standards that are on the market. And there is a clear ecosystem that is defined around this initiative. So what did we do? We basically started working in this area. We became an open finance pioneer in Europe. We are one of the major open banking hubs in Europe. We are a trusted player. We have more than 60 customers that are all banks. They are coming from around 10 countries in Europe. And we are, like I said, a recognized hub that is completely focused on innovation. In this context, we launch the marketplace that I was talking about, related to finance services, trying to put together the consumers, trying to put together the providers, trying to put together the end customers, and offer them something that will link their offerings in this trusted framework that we are proposing. How do we plan to do that? Well, we are planning to build, and we are in process of building actually, dedicated infrastructure, a dedicated infrastructure that doesn't relate only to the technical connections. I am quite happy actually that I'm following the talks that we had for WSO2 and from Kong, which are API management providers, solution providers, and I'm very happy to say that our offer is not is complementary to what they offer. We are not planning to have an API management solution, but we are planning to have additional items that are not present normally in a technical offer. So we're talking about due diligence, KYC and AML processes that we're running for the participants in the marketplace. We are talking about CRM and list management, about a trusted sales channel, about reporting of all kinds of what's happening in the platform, billing and invoicing capabilities, a product catalog, and community management. All these services, as you see, they are basically back office services that we are trying to offer to our customers in order to keep them away from this part of the business. We let them concentrate on what they do best, which is creating products, creating value by working on the products and services that they expose. And we try to provide them with the services in order to be able to benefit, to productize their offering. How do we are doing that? Well, we are doing that by enhancing the collaboration. We are putting people together. We are putting together consumer and providers. We are doing a matchmaking as well. We are leveraging niche solutions that can be easily integrated. So we are addressing platforms that are creating on top of banking products by enhancing the existing product. We're also addressing banking as a service. We are providing the ways to monetize products and services. And of course, we are again building the trust between the participants that they are acting in a curated and self-managed ecosystem. Who is trustworthy in our system? Well, we have a built-in certification process in order to earn and provide trust. This is concretized in a form of a badge system. So basically, we are awarding badges. So we introduce an element of gamification, if you want. We introduce a system of badges that are awarded to providers and consumers in order to signify the level of trust that can be seen. So you can see we have approved, regulated, and pro. Regulated being basically the very strict process that is defined by a legislator, by a regulation, like we have for Psd2, where we apply very strict processes, very clearly defined and legally approved. We have the approved process, where we apply a lighter due diligence process, but still inspired from the financial processes, so it is quite strict already. And then we have also the pro services, where we are partnering actually with our providers and trying to develop products together in order to make a profit for everybody from the expertise that we already built in this area of compliance and regulation. What is it in it for the provider, and why a provider should join this kind of ecosystem? Again, what we are selling is basically trust. When a provider is coming to our marketplace, to our framework, it is basically ensured that he will be evaluated, he will get a trust badge, and then the consumers of his services will be ensured as well that the provider is able to provide the services in the way that they expect it. Our consumers are also obviously coming from the financial sectors. So a lot of them are regulated. A lot of them are under very strict compliance or KYC or AML or due diligence processes that they need to put in place. Since we are regulated ourselves, we are a professional of the financial sector company in Luxembourg, we know very well how these processes are working. And we know very well how we need to put in place for our own customers these processes. And this is exactly what we try to leverage here. So we inspired our certification process from the same processes. We're trying to follow the same path for everybody that is participating. So this is basically what a provider can gain by participating here. The trust that his services are done and exposed in such a way that the consumer can safely consume it in a financial area. And similarly, what's in it for the consumer? Well, the consumer can be sure about the trust that I just talked about. He will reduce his time to market, obviously, because he doesn't need to deal with all these back office services that I talked about. He will need to concentrate on his business, on how to use the offering that he's getting from his service provider and integrate it into his own product or services. But he will not need to care about managing his customers, about onboarding new customers. He will not need to care about CRM and things like that. This is what we are offering. This is what we are bringing to the table, basically. The dimensions of our service are, as you can see, folded in 5 ways. So we are talking about a business dimension, a legal dimension, the operational, the functional, and finally the technical. We put the technical dimension last, not because it's not important. Obviously, integration of APIs is important, but we are not the only ones doing it. We are not maybe the best in doing it. We know how to do it, but we are offering something on top of that. From a technical point of view, I can tell you that we are agnostic on the API management solution that we are using, and we are also open to products that are non-API based. So we don't need to have a dependency. We are not building dependency on the tools, on the platforms. As you will see immediately, we are actually a framework. We are not a developer portal. We had the developer portal role. Basically, any kind of vendor of API management solution has a developer portal offer. They are all very good. We used quite a few of them. We have experience with them. They are also very much dedicated to the API management solution that created them, and they always address a company that is publishing its own API to the external world or internally. What we want to do is a mutual platform, and the platform that goes beyond the technicalities. So we're talking here about the different delivery modes for the products and services, not only API based. We're talking about something that can be branded and customized, not only from the point of view of getting it in the colors and logos of your company, but also customize the onboarding flows, for example. We are having a business process management engine behind the scenes that can be customized and adapted already to the flow that you want to put in place. We are talking about how to deliver this product. We can deliver it as a software as a service offer. It can be delivered as a hosted software license and can be also operated, or you can join the multi-tenant system that we're operating ourselves. We have obviously support for all type of APIs. It's a little bit biased towards REST because, well, most of the APIs currently are REST, but it supports different type of APIs as well, and it is also supporting non-API products. We have, of course, all kind of analytics related to the usage of the products with impact to the billing and invoicing, link directly to major CRM or billing systems. And of course, we are striving to go for an operation streamlining, trying to have as much as possible a complete self-managed system where the provider or the consumer can basically take care of his own workspace or his own domain without intervention on our side. Of course, all this is coming on top of our fully curated offer, fully certified and trustworthy offer according to the standard that I just described before. Now, it sounds quite good, but where are we with all this? Well, we are quite advanced. As you can see, we started basically with an out-of-the-box classic developer portal. I was saying starting related to the functionalities and not to actual development, because it is completely new development. It's not based on an existing technology. Then we begin to work on several other items that I described before. We moved to a totally new web architecture. We made a lot of user experience and user interface enhancement. We moved, and we are currently developing and working on API self-publishing, on provider and consumer self-onboarding, and on offering the diversification. If you follow our LinkedIn channel, you'll see that we are trying to promote intensively now the marketplace. And we have a live launch on 1st of July on an event here in Luxembourg, where we are basically launching our offer with the functionality that I described before. And where we go next is to put in place a certified fintech and financial marketplace, to create meshing capabilities, to go for a global market expansion, and more functionalities to come. So this is where we stand. This is where we are planning to go, and this is basically how we are trying to achieve that. It is a journey of discovery. It is something that we are having in process. We are trying to build partnership right now. We are trying to extend our reach outside Luxembourg, outside European market, and go further. We begin already to onboard quite a few fintechs. We sign quite a few contracts, and all this will be put together and launched on 1st of July. Together with the new capabilities that we built in, providing the same idea of trust between the participants by the processes that we built into the platform, and by the functionality that is added to the regular developer experience. We are talking of different personas that we are addressing, not only the developer, but also the business user, that can be a consumer or a provider, going together, finding offers that are fitting to the goals of their development, and consuming them via our marketplace. And this is basically the last of my slides. If there are questions, I guess this is a good time to go into it.
Yes, thank you, Radu. We definitely appreciate you going through this with us. We do have time for about one question, and I'm curious about that we saw of how do you generate trust between players?
Right. So what we're trying to do is basically to create a platform that is self-regulated. So we're putting in place processes related to due diligence of the participants, and these processes are based on our expertise in the regulated financial sector, but they are also adjustable and will take into account the input from the participants themselves. So they will be self-adjusting in order to create this trust, in order to be on top of the regulatory and compliance items in different geographies and markets, in order to build, basically self-build this kind of trust.
Thank you for that. And thank you for talking definitely in depth about building trust in open finance. That is all the time we have today. And thank you again, Radu, for joining us. We really appreciate it.